you for being here, and just please, if you have a question or a comment, just say your name and if you care to share any organizational affiliation that you might have. Floor is open. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Benjamin with I.W.W. I was hoping you might say real briefly what the current state of the Wild Edibles campaign is, how people here might want to plug in to make this boss's life a little more miserable than it is now. Maybe if you want to say what your next step with maybe brand workers is to make his life even more miserable. And if maybe Liberty could chime in on any creative ideas she has to make her boss's life an absolute nightmare.
Okay, thank you.
I like your goals.
La pregunta es cómo la gente aquí puede ayudar la campaña contra Wild Edibles y qué son los próximos pasos en la campaña. ¿Quieres? Yo? Okay. I work with Raymundo very closely on the campaign, so he's asking me to answer. The campaign is right now in global settlement negotiations with the employer, and if all goes well, we should emerge with a victory sometime in the near future. But Wild Edibles and its boss is not the kind of company you want to trust, so you never know. Already thus far, Raymundo spoke about the firings, which were very egregious. Many of those firings actually happened after a federal judge already imposed an injunction against Wild Edibles, against further retaliation. And those firings also took place after complaints from the National Labor Relations Board against retaliation, which were issued against Wild Edibles. He filed a phony bankruptcy petition and started operating under fake names to avoid accountability to his workforce. He's partnered with a corrupt, mob-controlled labor union called the Production Workers Union Local 148, whose president is a reputed associate of the Genovese crime family named Stephen Arena. Stephen Arena and the owner of Wild Edibles, Richard Martin, made threats of violence against members of the campaign. And his most recent attempt to undermine the campaign, I kid you not, literally attempted to bribe each individual member of the campaign with, in writing, had a written sheet of how much bribe money he'd be willing to pay to each one, and a written bribe agreement, which the worker would have to sign and say, in consideration of this money, I denounce Brand Workers International, and I withdraw my membership from Brand Workers, and I denounce their protest. I'm very happy to report that none of the workers took the bribe money, but that was his 2 or 3 week mission, was to try to convince them to take a bribe and undermine the campaign. So it's been a really tremendous battle, and the 65 restaurants that Raymundo mentioned not serving seafood from the sweatshop, they're some of the most prominent restaurants in New York City. Keith McNally's Pastis, Danny Meyer's Union Square Cafe, Tavern on the Green in Central Park, really big names, big volume restaurants. And the way they were persuaded to stop serving the product from the sweatshop is every week, now going back to August 2007, okay, every week, between 2 and 4 times a week, a group of the workers and several dedicated volunteers, some of whom are here tonight, engage in consumer education and educate consumers about where the seafood is coming from. So, it's wonderful to celebrate these 65 restaurants that have been persuaded, but I really want to salute Raymundo, who's one of the 2 elected delegates within the campaign, who week after week, I can't tell you the discipline and determination it really takes to stick with something for so long and be so focused that you're able to convince these very powerful corporations not to deal with the sweatshop. So for now, during global negotiations, there's a temporary ceasefire, but one of the most wonderful ways to get involved is to serve as a volunteer for the leafleting. So if you're interested, we have our Director of Communication, Stephanie Basile. You just raise your hand a little bit. She's here, so please contact her. And just in general, if you're interested in the work of Brand Workers, which is a nonprofit group for retail and food employees, please let Stephanie know. There's all kinds of activities we do, events, protests, email actions, call-in actions. So talk to Stephanie, and if you're interested in the I.W.W, make sure to get your contact information to Liberty. Y la segunda parte de su pregunta es cómo la gente puede ayudar en la campaña de Starbucks. How can people help the Starbucks campaign was the second part of this question.
For the Starbucks campaign? Immediately talk to me after this. Is the first step. I guess, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do. It's really, it's as simple as you can get flyers from the Starbucks Workers Union that you can hand to workers. If you know someone who works at a Starbucks or know someone who knows someone who knows someone, let them know that they have a union that they are welcome to join and participate in, and they have the right to join a union regardless of anything they hear from the bosses. Starbucks is really, 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 really big on union busting, and some of that has come in the form of Howard Schultz joining with Costco and Whole Foods to create an alternative proposal to the Employee Free Choice Act, which couldn't make it any more abundantly clear than it has ever been, his feelings on unions, and his feelings about me and my right to be in one, and my right to work with my coworkers to represent ourselves to the management, and improve our working conditions and wages. So a big thing is, like, we want to start focusing on really outing Howard Schultz as being a part of this alternative proposal, and holding him and Starbucks accountable for that. And then also, just in general, if you ever go into a Starbucks, definitely tip your barista, and tell them you're tipping them because you know what you've heard a little bit about what they go through. That really does mean a lot to people. It may sound crazy, it may sound like, oh, I'm a stranger, but I'm telling you people have done this, and it really means a lot to people. And also, we're always having demonstrations, leafleting, call-ins. We're doing a lot of the same tactics. And so we have places you can plug in. Yeah. I don't know, talk to me. Also, I'm a delegate with I.W.W. It means I can sign you up with a union card should you want union representation at your job. And I have that stuff with me now, so we can even talk about it. Also with me, I have a petition that we're circulating nationally to reinstate all fired union baristas from Starbucks. And included on the list is Daniel Gross. Included on the list is one of my coworkers, Chanel Simon, who was recently fired from my store, and a coworker across the park, Sharon Bell, that was fired. A lot of organizers in a lot of different cities have been fired through this company, just for standing up and deciding to use the right that already exists for them of organizing collectively. And so we could use your support on that end as well. And feel free to send an email to Howard Schultz. His email address is all over the internet and our website. Let him know how you feel about him mistreating his workers and doing everything he can to make a greasy buck. So yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you. It's Schultz at Starbucks.com. Yeah. And he has a house on Central Park East. And thanks for the question, Benjamin.